What are the next generation archival modes, and how are they going to provide storage solutions?
Well, my name is Steve Langer. I'm from Mayo Clinic Radiology, and I'm a medical informaticist. I'm co-chairing a session with Skip Kennedy at the SIIM 2012 in Orlando, and Learning Track 6 will help to try to answer exactly that question. It's worth considering where we've come from. Not too long ago, PACS vendors had internal archives. I mean, that was just the way it was. The A in PACS stood for Picture Archiving Communication Systems. So the traditional classic PACS installations, of which probably 80 to 90% today are still like that, have that integrated. A while ago, maybe within the past 6-7 years, people started considering the economies of scale, right? I mean, if I have several different imaging departments, and each one of them has a PACS here, a PACS there, a PACS everywhere, they're all paying for different disparate systems, and they have to train different people to work on different things, right? So it's probably a valuable consideration to think about how to remove the A from PACS and get the, an enterprise-wide archive that can be shared amongst all the ologies. And that's what VNA stands for, Vendor Neutral Archive. The term VNA applies to an archive that is not a PACS. It's a disconnected archive. And the idea is that the PACS vendors then would unplug the A from their systems and use that shared resource. And the value of that is of course, it's economy of scale. You can get the same kind of equipment and the same training for all of the people who have to do the care and feeding of that system. Then there's another acronym that you'll see introduced in here. That's the Archive Neutral Vendor. It's confusing, I know, because the acronyms are so close, but the Archive Neutral Vendor is kind of a term the PACS vendors are using now to plug themselves when they want you, the customer, to know that they are capable of playing with a VNA. So if you have a VNA, a Vendor Neutral Archive, you need to look for a PACS that's an ANV, an Archive Neutral PACS vendor. That's the gist of what those acronyms mean. Now the point about how they're going to store this, of course, now there's all this buzz about the cloud, right? What's the cloud? Well, personally I don't like that term very much. It's ambiguous and doesn't describe much of anything really. But in this particular instance we're talking about whether something lives in your data center or somebody else's. If it lives in somebody else's data center across town, it's the cloud. If it lives in yours, it's just in your data center. The value of course, having a cloud-based data center is ideally you can do things with that storage vendor that makes it easier fiscally for you. If you're a moderate shop or you're not exactly cash flush, you may not have the people to support an in-house data center. And you may not have the free capital just sitting around to plunk down $500,000 or $1 million check to buy several hundreds of terabytes of storage. So ideally you'd locate a cloud-based storage vendor that would supply a VNA for your ANV enabled PACS that would let you pay as you grow. I like that term, pay as you grow, because it says basically on day one I'm just going to start writing you. If it's on day 30, I'll write you for a check for the storage I used the last 30 days. At day 60, I write you a check for the storage I used from days 30 through 60, and so on and so forth. Now, what are the pros and cons of this? Well, that would be giving away the story, wouldn't it? You have to come to Orlando for that. But just think of, in a simplistic sense, the advantages, cloud, it's on somebody else's data store. You're not paying for the hardware. You don't have to come with the capital. There's a downside, of course, though. Your network has to be fast and it has to be bulletproof. So there's a premium on network uptime and performance. And that may not always be achievable for, say, a small community rural hospital. But there'll be a lot of vendor tie-in sessions associated with this Learning Track 6. So I invite you to go see us when you're in Orlando, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.